So red panty night means when you do something good, right? Your old lady has to give you a special treat.
Old lady?
Your old lady, like your missus at the home, you know?
Your old ball and chain?
Your old ball and chain. She has to get the red panties on. She do a special night, bring the candles out, the Shay's baby oil.
I'm weak, bro.
That's when daddy comes home.
Oh my God.
What are you riding there, Rod?
A little foregone.
Oh.
Shauna, come on, Richie. You gotta give credit where credit's due, man.
Call Out Podcast!
This is an exciting one, man. I feel like outside of Marlon Vera, this is his toughest fight. I feel like this guy's really, really good. Rulin Paiva, he just had a really tough fight against Kyler Phillips. That was a guy that I expected to beat Rulin Paiva, honestly, and run through him. And I mean, he pulled out a nice split decision win. So, I mean, that really, solidifies the toughness of this guy. He currently brings a 21-3 record to the UFC, so he's no walk in the park. Sean O'Malley, though, I mean, that's UFC star boy right there. I mean, he has to really come on and put on a show, but in my opinion, I think Rulin Paiva is going to get in his ass, bro. I think he might finish. This might be the first time Sean O'Malley gets actually finished by TKO.
Damn, let's go, bro. I love that.
I like Sean O'Malley, bro. I like this kid. I like him a lot. I mean, I like what he does. I like his swag, but this is no walk in the park, bro. Rulin Paiva's, he's a dog. He's going to get in there.
Yeah, and he's having a full camp at 135 this time because the Kyler Phillips fight was his first fight at 135. It was at 135. He's usually 125. So when he went up there, he did it even on short notice. So he wasn't fully set into that 135 weight. So now after he has a full camp, I don't know if anyone follows him on Instagram. His training is on point. He's in great shape. He's going to be fast, dude. And he's going to be better conditioned, too, than Sean O'Malley. His weapons, he's got the range. He's got good wrestling that can neutralize the fight, which is something that is something you need for Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley, he just got good timing, and he's good with his range.
With Sean O'Malley, there seems to always be like a narrative with this guy, right? Like he's the next rising star in the UFC. He has all the talents in his toolbox. But do you feel like injury is one of those things that kind of hold him back? Because you look at the Marlon Vera fight, you look at the a couple fights back, he fought some guy named I forgot his name, but it's like Suckamuth or something.
Yeah.
Like some weird guy. And
that's when he originally broke his foot.
Yeah, and he's always getting injured in these fights. Do you feel like this Rulin Paiva fight can kind of re-aggravate these injuries? I mean, this is one of those guys that's he's not no Chris Moutinho or like no disrespect to Chris. I mean, Chris was, he did his best in that fight, but Rulin's he's gonna come forward, and Sean's really gonna have to be in a dogfight in order to win this. Do you think that injury concern can be something that pops up?
No, I don't even think it's gonna come down to the foot. I just think Paiva just better. Even if he has 3 feet, like he's just better every way.
I hear you, bro. You think he's an all-around better fighter, and I agree with you, man. I think Rulin Paiva is good everywhere. I think Sean O'Malley. We all know that his stand-up's there. I've seen a couple of those like underground jiu-jitsu tournaments he does, and he looks pretty good, man. He's not a scrub on the ground either. The wrestling, I haven't seen too much of. I feel like it's gonna be a stand-up fight. I'll put it there. I don't feel like it's gonna go to the ground too much. They're gonna stand and bang, and I think one of them will get caught. I think there might be a finish in this fight, man, and I'm going with Rulin Paiva.
All right, our next fight, Rod, is at the flyweight division. KaraFrance versus Cody Garbrandt. This is Cody Garbrandt's first fight at 125. Let's talk about that first, really quick. What do you feel about that? How you feel about him dropping down to 125?
Man, I think this is a good move for him. Cody Garbrandt's one of those guys since he got the title, he's always been up there in that top 5 contention range. He has all the tools he needs to be a good fighter. I mean, you've seen him get caught a couple times being over aggressive, but all the mistakes he makes are correctable. They're things that he can go in the gym, work on, come back, get stronger from it, and move his career forward in that sense. KaraFrance, man, that's a tough kid too. That's a tough first fight to get in a new weight class. But I'm not gonna lie though, I like Cody. I like Cody in this fight a lot. I think Cody has the better boxing. Kai's tough. Kai's very tough, but I can see Cody getting it done here. I think this goes the over. I think I can see a decision win for Cody. I think he win 2 rounds to 1. But KaraFrance, no walk in the park. This is gonna be a really good fight from start to finish. Definitely action packed. Lots of heavy hands being thrown. We might see some wrestling scrambles.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this one as well, man.
Yeah, there's gonna be scrambles. There's gonna be back and forth, hand-to-hand combat. It's gonna be a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're gonna use every weapon that they have. Alpha Male's hot right now too. I feel like Alpha Male's as a camp, they're doing really good. Cody is ranked number 7 at 135. KaraFrance ranked number 6 at 125. When I heard that this fight was announced, I was pretty excited. I was like, okay, this is gonna be a good fight for Cody to start off, but also really interesting for the fans because it's not an easy fight. KaraFrance has got good stand-up. He's got good boxing. He's coming off that TKO win of Rogerio Bontorin. But I have Cody too. Actually, I have Cody. I've seen a little bit more from him that impresses me than KaraFrance. I just don't think he's gonna have the power that Cody has. Now we've seen TJ drop from 135 to 125, and he didn't blame it on the weight cut, but I did. I feel like that just was not a weight for him. So if
absolutely.
Cody can just make this a smooth transition, and it's really, for me, it comes down to that weight. So I won't really know until I see him weigh in, but as of right now, based on the skills and based on his resume, I'm gonna go with Cody Garbrandt. I'm gonna go with the decision as well. I think that's a safe bet. If KaraFrance does win this, how do you see him winning? Is there any chance for him? And if there is, what's his best way out?
I think for KaraFrance, if you're fighting a guy like Cody Garbrandt, right? A guy that's a perennial title contender, as we mentioned. His last loss is to Rob Font, who's a very tough guy, potentially getting that title eliminator fight with Jose Aldo. You already know this kid's not a walk in the park. I think if you're KaraFrance, the number one game plan is to get Cody to become a brawler. You got to get him to trade with you.
Yeah. And
you got to get him to overcommit on a lot of things. I mean, we've seen that being a recipe for Cody to lose a lot of fights. You've seen it in the TJ Dillashaw fight 2 times. You've seen it in the
Pedro Munoz.
The Pedro Munoz fight. That was another one where he just gets over aggressive and, he leaves a lot of openings. I think if you're KaraFrance, man, you got to look for those moments. You got to build that animosity. You got to get in there and just, make it a dogfight. But Kai also has the wrestling pedigree as well. He has the ground game, the toughness to really make this a fight in other areas as well. So, I mean, overall, KaraFrance, you gotta go out there and you got to just make it a tough fight for Cody. Make him fight with emotion rather than his head. But I like what you said, though, about Cody. I think the weight cut, I think that's a big factor in this fight as well, because when you cut weight, obviously you're giving off a lot more than just you're cutting a lot of weight. So your body's a little shrunken. You don't have enough water in your system. Can you rehydrate fast enough? Can you get back in the octagon feeling full and healthy? That's another story for Cody. I think another part of this as well is can Cody recover fast enough so he can get in the octagon at full strength? Because that will be a very, very interesting point in this fight.
So that's our pick right there. We both got Cody Garbrandt with a decision win, but either way, it's gonna be a sick fight. You gotta tune into this one. It's gonna be back and forth action. All right, Rod, we got an interesting fight here. We got Jeff Neal versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. I have to talk about what Jeff Neal did while we were eating turkey, having stuffing and mashed potatoes. So he was arrested for DUI, and they also found a gun in his car. The gun was legally in his name. So the gun itself didn't have issues. It's just the fact that he had the gun with him while he was committing another time. What a knucklehead, man. What's this guy doing? Like, he's got a fight, at the time it was like 18 days. What are you doing? Like, what are you doing right now? On Thanksgiving? This dude's getting way too turned.
That man got back-to-back L's. I mean, DUI, come on, man. You couldn't call an Uber. Like, there's so many options you could take, and that's the road you're going to take. You're going to drive a car under the influence, potentially, like, you can ruin your life, you can ruin someone else's life. I mean, me and you, Rich, we're from Vegas. We just heard what happened to the star wide receiver out at the Raiders, Henry Ruggs. It's an unfortunate thing. You shouldn't be driving drunk. That's the first thing I'm going to say about that. But, I mean, Jeff Neal, man. So you get this a week before the fight. I mean, that the last week of your weight cut, or like of the fight week, you're cutting that last little bit of weight, right? You have to maintain that focus. You gotta have that right mindset. I mean, now you're coming into this fight, you're probably gonna be overweight. If you do somehow make it to fight night, where's your mental state at, right? Where's the weight cut? How are you gonna go in there? You're not fighting some some UFC contender guy, an up-and-comer. You're fighting Santiago Ponzinibbio, right? This guy's an absolute fucking monster.
Monster.
It's just a terrible matchup. I don't like it, man. I personally think this fight gets scratched. I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, Santiago Ponzinibbio definitely has the upper hand in this one. I think it's going to be a stand-up bout anyways. I think Santiago has heavier hands. I mean, we've seen Santiago take an L in his last fight against Li Jingling, but don't let that fool you. This man is an absolute monster. That was just a little blemish on his record there, but Santiago's one of those guys that I personally have as an up-and-comer. I think he's going to go pretty far on the UFC, and I think with everything that's developing in this case, I think if this fight does happen, Jeff Neal is in a world of trouble. I think Santiago Ponzinibbio is going to finish him in the first 2 rounds.
Flipped for me. So before I knew any of this happened, I still had Ponzinibbio. He's just fast. He's a lot more technical in the stand-ups. Got a good use of kicks. Jeff Neal, he's also got the speed. You know, he's got powerful hands. He's a good wrestler. But I still had Ponzinibbio winning. But originally, I had him winning by decision. I didn't see Neal getting finished. I feel like Ponzinibbio was going to be a little shy coming in after that knockout. He's going to be a little more conservative. He was going to just, you know, piece him up and do his thing for 3 rounds. But now that I know where Jeff Neal's head is at, I would take the under 2 now if this fight goes down. I mean, it's going to go one or two ways, man. Either he's going to somehow be amazing and be like, you know what? I had a worse month, but I'm going to at least get this W, and I'm going to fight because I'm fighting literally a legal battle, and I'm fighting an actual physical battle. I should maybe fire him up. I doubt it. I think it's just gonna break him. He's gonna break him, and if he does go in there, oh bro, it's gonna be tough for him. It's, you know, you can't be making dumb decisions like that, especially when you're in a high level sport. You know, you've proven to people that you're disciplined. You're responsible. Then you go do something like this. It doesn't make sense. So I just want to say, look, man, I wish you the best. I hope that you can come strong after this. But I think the fight should be scrapped. I don't want to see it, just like you said. I don't want to see it. It's not even really competitive anymore, man. This dude's... And it kind of sucks for Santiago Ponzinibbio, who was training, and he's ready. You know, it kind of sucks that it has to be ruined. If the fight happens or not, for me, it is ruined.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I think you really just touched every base that you could on that. I mean, it's one of those things that, like, you know, 3 years of martial arts, the one thing it teaches you is self-discipline. You know, you learn it for good reasons because it changes you as a person. And it's just one dumb mistake like this that could, you know, cause a tragic event. And, you know, all prayers out to Jeff Neal. Hopefully he gets through this. Hopefully this is just a speed bump in his career, and he can take a lesson from this moment. But I agree, man. If this fight is scrapped, I think that'd be the best thing. I think Santiago should definitely be compensated somehow, though. I mean, you train all this time. You know, you're probably close to weight at this point. You're still ready to fight. If Jeff can't make it, I don't know if the UFC has a last-minute opponent to put in there. But
you think Magny?
Huh?
You think Magny?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I didn't think about that. But Neal Magny would be an interesting fight for Santiago Ponzinibbio as well. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this, man. 'Cause it's tough. It's tough taking on a new fight. You know, when you're in a fight camp for a specific guy. Neal Magny and Jeff Neal are completely polar opposite fighters. So it's you trained your whole training camp for one guy, and then you got another guy. It's tough either way, man. You know, I'm gonna focus mostly on this one. Just that I hope Jeff Neal learns a lesson from this. I hope everything's okay, and then
yes,
if it does happen, I do see the under for Santiago. But in my personal opinion, I don't think it happens either, man. I think if he makes it, he's not going to show up the best possible shape or best possible mental state that he could. And I think Santiago ultimately does take it.
All right, Rod. Man, I don't know what the date is. It says it's December 11th, but I feel like it's going to be July 4th because it's going to be fireworks, sir, on Saturday. We got Amanda Nunes, the champ, the GOAT, versus Juliana Pena. What do you think, man? I don't know. I'm lost for words here, really, because for me, I think it's easy. But I want you to start this off.
Man, that was a great introduction. I don't know how I can beat that. You said July 4th. It's December 11th, but it could be July 4th, right?
Oh,
fireworks. the women's Billy Goat, the greatest of all time, Amanda Nunes, 2-weight current champ in the UFC, taking on Julia Pena. I don't think Julia Pena is a walk in the park, but I mean, Amanda Nunes right now, after everything she's proven, she's the GOAT. I don't think anyone's on her level. I mean, any woman that fights right now currently in the UFC, outside the UFC, that's the talk of the talk. Amanda Nunes has been there. She's done what she needs to do, and she's finished everybody pretty like, I mean, there wasn't competition. You never see Amanda Nunes get hurt. She finished everyone decisively, and it just speaks volumes to her character. Her status is like one of the greatest fighters of all time. I don't think December 11th is any different. I think she gets in there and gets the job done against Pena. But what I do want to bring highlight to is something that her coach did say. Now, he did say that with Amanda Nunes being Amanda Nunes, she gets a lot of not criticism, that's not the right word, but she gets a lot of people just expect her to go in there and finish people, right? And that's a lot of pressure on her because she has to perform at a certain level. He said Julia Pena is not a walk in the park, and I agree with him. I think she's very tough. She brings a different type of tool sets to the octagon, and I think she will challenge Amanda a little bit. But ultimately, I do think Amanda does have, everything she needs to have to finish Julian Pena. I don't think it goes over 2 rounds. I think she gets a knockout. But it'll be a fun main code event. I think it's just going to add another name to her legacy. And we're seeing the GOAT, man. We're seeing history in the making right now with Amanda Nunes. So definitely tune in for this one. Watch it just for the entertainment purposes that you're going to watch one of the greatest women athletes of all time perform.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot like the Shevchenko fight. It's like
Absolutely.
They try to build up these fighters as much as they can to make it seem interesting. And it is going to be interesting. And I'll talk a little bit about why. But, the fact that they're not underestimating Juliana Pena, it's just the best. You need to fight every fighter, no matter who you are. You got to fight them like they're Chris Cyborg, or you got to fight them, like they're the best fighter in the world. Because at this moment, they are. They're facing you. They're the best that they've got. So you got to look at it that way. So I already love where the camp's mindset is, where her and her coach, that they said that and they acknowledged that. Dude, Amanda is scary everywhere. She's scary on the ground, against the cage, scary stand-up. But Juliana Pena, you're right. She is no walk around the park. She's well-rounded. She's a ground specialist. She's coming off that submission win off of Sarah McMahon. And then before that, though, a sub loss to Jermaine Durand in Maine, right? So Juliana Pena's recent resume doesn't give me all the faith that she's going to be the one to dethrone the GOAT, to dethrone the champ, which is kind of how I view it, right? And if Pena beats Amanda Nunes, I mean, you're not just winning a fight, like you're taking that. Everything that she's, I'm not saying you're going to end up on the pound for pound the number one spot, but you might as well if you beat Amanda Nunes. I just don't think Juliana Pena is the one that's going to do it. Her resume kind of tells me so. Her stand-up is not as good. I think her stand-up, she's a little hesitant at times. I saw her struggle also on the cage and on the ground against Sarah McMahon until she got that submission, which shows me that, she's got heart. She's going to hang in there. I think Juliana Pena is going to try her best not to go the under, but that's pretty much the most that she can aim for, in my opinion, is to just try not get finished. When you go against Amanda Nunes, it's more about, okay, who can survive? That's really, if you survive, you win. That's kind of how it is in my eyes. So,
I mean, you're not wrong there, Ben. You're definitely not wrong.
She's scary, man. She's scary, and I would like to see the end. Not the end of her reign, but I would like to see her out of the UFC. Maybe this fight, a couple more, whatever she feels. I trust however she feels, whatever she thinks she needs to make herself satisfied. But for me, I would be blessed if I can see her for another 5 years, another 10 years. But I want her to retire with this team. I want her to retire, and just live her life right off in the sunset. She's got an awesome family that she can spend time with. I want her to collect this win over Juliana Pena, as a fan. I'm saying this as a fan. And then just cruise on over to the sunset. But let's not doubt Juliana Pena completely. Like I said, she does have a good skill set. I just don't think she's the one. Like Neo from Matrix. She's not the one.
Richard, you're not wrong, man. I think you're right on everything you said. And the last part really summed up everything that needed to be summed up. I want to see her go out on top, man, because I mean, she's beating the who's in the women's division. I mean, add a couple more names to that resume, definitely ride off into the sunset with all those accolades, being on top of the division, keeping all those belts. You haven't seen a UFC champion that holds 2 belts kind of go out on top like that. So Amanda Nunes definitely has the opportunity. And again, being one of the female fighters, I don't think she gets the recognition she needs, but she's pound for pound one of the greatest of all times. And, just to add on to that, I don't think there's a woman alive right now that can hang with her. I think in order to get in the ring with Amanda Nunes and possibly get a win, you got to have a pair of hairy nugs between your legs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
buddy.
You got to. And even then,
bro, you might still have a tough task ahead of you.
But guys, you need to tune into this fight, like Rodrigo said. If you're not a UFC fight fan, this one will make you a fight fan. Just tune in for the entertainment, man. You're gonna see Amanda Nunes at work. She's one of these fighters that you need to see in person and be able to say, I saw Amanda Nunes in person. This is what we're witnessing here. That you're going to be able to say that she was the greatest woman MMA fighter of all time. So you don't want to miss out on that phenomenon, So I'm excited, man.
Really?
I can't wait. Like I said, 4th of July.
So on the main card, we have Charles the Bronx Oliveira taking on Dustin and Diamond Poirier. I mean, can you ask for a more exciting fight for the lightweight title here at 155? Charles, he's that Cinderella story, right? The guy that's overcome all these obstacles, taking losses, but comes back, wins the title. I mean, even in the title fight against Michael Chandler, he faced adversity in that first round. It looks like it's all over for him. Second round makes the necessary adjustments, comes out, knocks him out, wins that lightweight scrap. And then you go on the other side of that, you got Dustin Poirier, a guy who avenges a loss against the biggest, not even arguably, the biggest superstar in MMA right now, in Conor McGregor. Knocks him out the first time. The second time gets a finish. A little bit controversial. Some people, want to say that it wasn't a knockout. Conor got injured. But, I mean, leading up to the fight, you kind of see some of the things that Dustin was doing. It wasn't looking too good for Conor anyways. How do you feel about this fight, man? Do you feel like this is going to be an absolutely action-packed fight? Do you feel like it's going to be a little bit more boring? What's your take on this, Richard?
Yeah, I love how you touch on the stories because they both got awesome stories. The Charles Oliveira, right? His rag to riches stories. Dustin Poirier is kind of the same, rag to riches, but they've both been in the sport for a really long time. They're both way different fighters than they were about before 3 years ago. Like within
100%.
3 years, they're a different fighter. They're both different fighters. They've come over some crazy speed bumps. They've resurged their careers. You can't look at their resumes too much on this, right? Anything below maybe 2019, you should kind of disregard. They're totally different people. Charles Oliveira, he's a little bit more technical, he's a little more put together than before. He looks like he's a little more durable. In the past, he'll get hit with something soft and then he'll just kind of just fold and that's it. But the shots that he ate, oh my God, it was like Thanksgiving dinner. He was eating some shots from Chandler in that last fight. So to see that he can survive that, it looks good. It looks good for him leading into the Dustin Poirier fight, who has some crazy stand-up, crazy power in his hands. But you can't get any more durable than Dustin Poirier either. So I would stay away off the ground if I was Dustin. I kind of keep away from the ground. Stay away from Oliveira's jiu-jitsu. You don't want any part of it. Now I'm interested in the leg kicks. What do you think about the leg kicks in this fight? You think Dustin Poirier is going to be utilizing them against Charles? And if he does, how do you think Charles will react?
That's a great question, man, because that's been almost like a new thing that Justin's added to his arsenal, and it's been really quite effective, especially in the Conor fight. I mean, before I answer that, going back to exactly what you said, I mean, these are completely different fighters from what we're known to, right? Charles has kind of reinvented himself. One of the things that I feel like he was missing lately in the beginning part of his career, and I think Justin Gaethje touched base on that really well, was he was missing the dog. And what that really means is it's like you see him get finished sometimes where it's like, bro, like you got to toughen up a little bit and just get out of that situation. Yeah. But he's corrected that lately. I mean, like the Michael Chandler fight for the belt, that's a perfect example. He faced that adversity early on, made the correct adjustments, came out, got the finish. That's what we want to see. And then Dustin Poirier, I mean, he's fought the who's of the 155 division. I mean, there's not a single man that he hasn't fought. And you look at Dustin, he's been competitive in every single fight he's been in. Even the Khabib fight where he got submission finished with that rear naked choke. He rocked Khabib. I mean, he hit him a couple times, some good shots. I mean, I don't know. This is a fun fight for me. I think Dustin, like you said, if he keeps this fight on his feet, he'll land more of the explosive blows. I think adding those leg kicks, those could really damage Charles Oliveira a lot, making him look a lot more for that ground game to come alive in like later rounds. But overall, man, I think Dustin has more tools in his arsenal to really make this fight, to keep this fight on the feet, to really utilize his skill set, necessarily what makes him more advantageous in this fight, which is that stand up. I think Charles really has to bring the fight to Dustin if he wants to win. I think Charles has to look for those clinches. He has to, try and initiate the fight on the ground. Dustin's boxing is too crisp, man. The last time you've seen Dustin Poirier get rocked or knocked out was Bobby Green. I mean, think about how far along that was. Since then, he's fought Justin Gaethje, Conor McGregor, Eddie Alvarez. I mean, he's fought some heavy hitters, man.
And Hooker too. I mean, that was a war.
Yeah, he's just made straight upgrades and just progress in his game. I mean, I like Dustin in this fight, man. I think Dustin wins. I think he's able to really hurt Charles. But this is gonna be a tough fight. I think it goes into later rounds. I can see Dustin finishing it, but don't be surprised if you see the split decision or maybe a unanimous decision as well going into later rounds. I can see Dustin. My personal opinion, I think Dustin wins this in 5. I think it's a unanimous decision win. I think he pulls off 3 rounds to 2. But again, don't be surprised. I may be wrong on this. I've been wrong before, but I think Dustin gets it done in 5.
I do think that Dustin might get it done actually in the second.
One more time for the fans here. You said Charles Oliveira gets finished in the second round?
I think I think he can get finished in the second round. And I think, I'm going to say he will. You know what? I'm going to go ballsy here. Dustin Poirier will get it done in 2 rounds. I think Charles Oliveira, I know he's durable. We said that, coming off that. Oh my God, just like left. Charles Oliveira has proven his durability with that Chandler fight. Yes, I understand. But I think he's going to get hit with not just bombs, but combinations, and he's just going to want no part of it, man. He's going to be like, oh, this was different than Chandler. Because I have Dustin beating Chandler as well, to be honest with you. I actually would love to see Dustin win the belt. I think you know where I'm going with this. I want to see Dustin win the belt, and then want to see Gaethje fight Dustin. Get that rematch. That will be fire.
I love that, man. I like what you said, that you think Charles Oliveira goes from Charles 2.0 back to 1.0, where, he gets finished in these tough fights. I mean, bro, I can see that happening too. The reason why I was so excited is because I can see Dustin finishing him, man. I can see it happening early in the fight too.
2 or 3.
Dustin has that pace. He can put the pressure on him. He can really keep up with it. The combinations are nasty. Dustin's definitely the man.
Whatever happens, man, we're in for a treat. We both got Dustin Poirier winning. You got Dustin by decision. I got Dustin with the under, actually, by TKO. I think you might see another highlight reaction video from us because it's gonna be wild, man. It's gonna be wild. I already know I'm gonna go crazy. I already know.